Plato is one of the main characters in the long history of the Western philosophical tradition. Together with his teachers Socrates and his most famous student Aristotle, we can say that Plato laid the foundations of Western philosophy. Plato lived around 400 BCE, in a time when Athens was falling apart. In 404 BCE, Athens finally fell to Sparta. Plato wanted to find a roadmap that would lead people to the truth with a capital T. In his book, The Republic, Plato proposed an allegory, a story taking place inside a cave, to explore how we perceive the world outside and how their perception can be misleading. Plato's famous allegory of the cave is one of the first explicit meditations on the nature of reality, and hence very, very important to our course. This is how it goes. Imagine a group of people inside a cave, chained and unable to move since birth. The only thing these people could do was to stare at the cave wall in front of them. They had no knowledge of the world outside or around them. Their reality consisted of what they saw projected on the cave wall in front of them. They saw shadows dancing on the wall, and to them that was the real world. They didn't know that behind them there was a fire burning, and that people were standing in front of that fire holding statues and other objects that would project shadows on the wall. The people saw the shadows moving on the cave wall and took them for real. Their inability to turn back precluded them from seeing the truth. Their world was a world of false illusions. Plato used the allegory for many reasons, but the important one for us is that it explored very clearly the fact that our senses can fool us into believing that what we see and what we hear is reality, when in fact, the essence of reality is much more subtle and may escape perception. To Plato, the essence of reality was not to be found through the senses, that is, in the way we perceive the world. Only through thinking, through reason, could we actually get to the truth with capital T. Here is an example. If I told you to imagine a circle, the idea of the circle in your mind is the only perfect circle. If now you draw or you print a circle, it will never be as perfect as the idea of the circle in your mind, at least according to Plato. He taught that the true nature of reality can only be found in our minds, since the senses can deceive us. We can see the influence from Parmenides as Plato searched for some kind of eternal, unchangeable truth. And we can see the influence from Pythagoras because Plato believed that mathematics and mathematical reasoning was the pathway to the truth. From our experience, we know that the senses can trick us. If you get drunk or you take drugs, the way we look at the world changes, sometimes quite dramatically. Even if you're just tired, or if you have some sort of auditory or visual illusion, your perception of reality changes. You may believe that a fabrication of your brain is real, when in fact, it isn't. So how are we to know what is real? How can we be sure that the information our senses capture about the world and that the brain integrates into what we call reality is reality? Well, Plato would say, don't trust your senses. We are all stuck in a cave. We are sort of like a fish stuck inside a fishbowl that can see there is something out there, but can't really get to it. This is going to be our central allegory. If there is an essence of reality, how close can we get to it? How free can we be from the prison of the senses? Can science bring us closer to the truth, or does it have limitations of its own? Well, before we explore all that, I have an activity for you. You have to create your own representation of Plato's cave.